Shalom Vaeschanan Tavshin Pei Hey, coming to you live from Yerushalayim, Ir HaKodesh. And what better place is there to be for Shabbos Nachamu, Shabbos of consolation? And we all know that consolation means only one thing, that we are back in the city of Yerushalayim, and we look forward to the day when every one of you, when every one of us, when every person all together as Klal Yisrael very, very soon will be back here in this beautiful city. And the Medrash in Eicha Rabbah speaks about this double lashon of Nachamu, Nachamu. And the Medrash says, what's the reason for the double lashon? That Chatu b'kiflayim, at the time of the Churban Beis Hamikdash, Chatu b'kiflayim, they sinned, the Averos were done double. And how do we know that? The Pasuk says, Chet Chat'ah Yerushalayim. We just learned it in Eicha a few days ago. Chet Chat'ah Yerushalayim, a double lashon, that in some way, and we'll explain it soon, the Chet, the Averos that were done in a double way. And since they did Averos in a double way, so Laku b'chiflayim, they were punished double also. As the Pasuk in Yeshaya says, Ki lakcha miyad Hashem kiflayim b'chol chatoiseh, that the punishment was also double. So the chatoim were double, the punishment was double, and now, says the Medrash, misnachamim b'kiflayim. The nechama has to also be, the nechama is also in a double way. We are double consoled too. And where do we see that? Says the Medrash, our pasuk in the Haftarah, Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami, that we are being consoled. The nechama is in a double way. So everything here seems to be double. And the Nesivos Shalom, we've gone through this, Baruch Hashem, over the years, and the Nesivos Shalom speaks about this double lashon from many, many different angles. But there's one mahalach that I'd like to go with this year to deliver a beautiful message from the Nesivos Shalom. And one very interesting mahalach is, what does a double avera mean? We started off the shir saying that they have a double nechama because the averos that they did, the avera they did was double. What does it mean to do a double avera? How does one do a double avera? What is a double sin? So says the Nesivos Shalom that when the Yetzer Hara entices a person to do an avera, even more than wanting the person to do the actual avera, the Yetzer Hara wants that the person, after doing the avera, should become down and depressed and get stuck in their depression. That after you do the avera, you should feel that you want to give up on yourself. That, oi, look what I did. Look what I'm up to. Look where I'm holding in my life. And a person gets down. The Yetzer Hara wants to make the person feel that you're chas v'shalom now cut off from Hashem. Because we know once a person is down, once a person gives up on themselves, you feel like you have nothing to lose. And once you feel like you have nothing to lose, everything's open, everything's game. A person has to always have the strength and feel that you make mistakes, and when you make mistakes, you could get up from your mistakes. You can do better. You'll do better next time. But once a person gives up, then everything's on the table, everything's game, and that is what the Yetzer Hara wants. Yetzer Hara wants double. He wants you to do the avera, but more than even doing the avera, he wants you to feel that way about yourself afterwards. So the double lashon of chet, says in the Nesivos Shalom, is that there is doing the avera, And then there's the second problem of the person giving up on themselves, feeling estranged and being down, and that itself is a chait. That is not what Hashem wants for us. And the punishment, the laksa b'chiflayim, is related to that too. The first punishment, we said that they were punished twice. Yes, because the first punishment resulted in Golus, where they were dispersed among the nations. That was the punishment for the Averas. And then there's the punishment which we have, which is now that we feel estranged from Hashem, we feel distant from Hashem. That was the second, that is the second part of the punishment after the Chorban. And that is one beautiful translation that I want to share you about. Nachamu, Nachamu Ami. It says in Nesivos Shalom that what is the double consolation? What's the big consolation that we have to take out? We have to take great consolation in the fact that after everything, Nachamu, Nachamu, you needed a double Nechama, but Ami, Hashem is saying, you are still and you always will be in every way, in every matzav, no matter what you did, no matter where you are, no matter where you're holding, Ami, you are still my nation. Even in times of Chorban and even in times of Golus, we need to hold on to that idea that yes, we may have done double chet. Yes, we may have been punished in a double way, that we had a Chorban and we feel now far from Hashem. But there's also the Nachamu, Nachamu, the double consolation, because Ami, you are still and you always will be my nation. Hashem is with us. And Chazal tell us something very interesting, that at the time of the Chorban Beis HaMikdash, at the time that our enemies entered the Beis HaMikdash during the Chorban, they saw something very interesting. What did they see? They saw that the Kruvim were embracing each other. We know that the Kruvim only embraced each other when Klal Yisrael was Oisen Ritzoynei Shel Makayim, when we were doing the will of Hashem. So how was it that at the time of the Chorban, when the enemies came in to the Beis HaMikdash, they saw the Kruvim, they were embracing each other? What's going on? How could it be that we were doing the Ratzon Hashem at the time of the Chorban? Were we doing the Ratzon Hashem? There was a Chorban Beis HaMikdash. Hashem destroyed Yerushalayim, destroyed the Beis HaMikdash. What's going on over here? What were the Kruvim doing, embracing each other? Undoubtedly, the Nesivos Shalom tells us it was to deliver this message that we need to hear, to deliver this message to us, that going forward, the Nechama would be double on two fronts. That Hashem is now with us. Hashem is with us when we are acting appropriately, when we are doing everything right, and there's no matzav of Chorban. But the second message is, the double message is that even when we are not particularly doing the Ratzon Hashem, as was the time of the Chorban, Hashem is telling us right then, by the Kruvim embracing each other, that I will never give up on you. I will always be connected to you. I am always with you. You are always Ami. Nachamu, Nachamu, even in a time when you think it's all over, the Beis HaMikdash is destroyed. No, Ami, the message that when things aren't perfect, and people many times are not perfect, most of the time we're not perfect, and you think that you might be cut off from Hashem, Hashem is telling you, no, I'm always watching you. I'm always with you. I always want you back. It is not so. We are never totally disconnected and cut off from each other. There's a special relationship between Hashem and His nation, the Ami, Hashem's one and only nation in this world. And it is this emunah, this understanding, this belief that keeps us going in a very long galus that is very, very close to 2,000 years. And it would be sometimes easy, or the easier way out, to throw in the towel and to say, look what Hashem did to us. We must be so estranged from Hashem. We must be so distant. The message is, no, the message of the Kruvim. Nachamu, Nachamu, a double lashon. Nachamu from when we are together, and Nachamu when it's Shas HaChorban, when we are Golus. I am still giving you a consolation. Nesivos Shalom brings down the Birkas Avram, Zechusi Yagan Aleinu. He tells us on the pasuk in Tehillim, B'shuv Hashem es Shivas Tzion. You all know this pasuk, right? Hayinu kecholmim. We were like dreamers. What does it mean that we were like dreamers? So, like the Chazal tell us, it's telling us that what were we like? Hayinu kecholmim. We were like Yosef Baal Hachaloi Mois. We were like Yosef Hatzadik in Mitzrayim. What does it mean that when B'shuv Hashem es Shivas Tzion Hayinu Kecholmim, we're going to realize that we were like dreamers, like Yosef? Beautiful explanation. What happened to Yosef? Yosef went through a period of his life where it seemed like everything was going wrong. Yosef was sold. He was thrown in a pit, right? He was sold. He went to Mitzrayim. He was thrown in jail. He had the nisyonis of Mitzrayim. Everything seemed to be going wrong. But then look what happened at the end. Yosef became second to the king. Yosef ruled Mitzrayim. And during the time of the famine in Mitzrayim, it was all Yosef. Yosef became the most powerful person in the world. But everything that happened to Yosef had to lead up to this point. Had to lead up to this moment when Yosef became the king. Yosef, Kecholmim, Yosef, the Baal, the person who interpreted dreams. Hayinu Kecholmim, we're going to be like that too. What does that mean? How does that connect to us? Look what we're going through. We're going through a Golus, crusades, inquisitions, holocausts, and more of things happening in Eretz Yisrael, scary things for the past 2,000 years. But one day, B'shuv Hashem es Shivas Tzion, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes us back to this city, when we come back here to be once again the leaders of the world and the nation of Hashem, when we come out of Golus, Hayinu Kecholmim, we're going to realize that everything that happened, B'klal u'b'prat, to Klal Yisrael as a whole, and to Klal Yisrael, and to the individuals of Klal Yisrael, we're going to be like Yosef. We're going to see that everything was, it's a word that's overused, but bashert is a good word at this point, that everything was meant to be, that we needed to go through every difficulty and every trouble to get to this point. B'shuv Hashem es Shivas Tzion. The city itself looks beautiful, but it's empty. There's no Beis HaMikdash. It's not here. Still the most beautiful place in the world. But we wait for the day when B'shuv Hashem es Shivas Tzion, when we're going to return to this city, when we're going to come back here, all of us, every one of you, we're going to be able to say, maybe we started on Nesivos Shalom Shiurim for whatever it is, 15, 16 years in Golos, but then we brought it back home. We're coming back here. Remember the lesson of the Kruvim. Remember, Nachamu, Nachamu Ami. People aren't perfect. We're not perfect, but we can't throw in the towel. We have to know, even when we're not perfect, Hashem sent us the message that He is with us, and He's always with us, and He will always stay with us. We will always be Ami. What an encouraging message for this Shabbos. Let's think about it. Let's internalize this message and think about the fact that we're never alone. Hashem is always with us. We may have done chatoim double. We may have got punished double. And there's different translations for each of those things. But one thing definitely, Nachamu, Nachamu Ami, there's a double consolation because we are the one and only nation of Hashem. Good Shabbos to everybody from the beautiful city of Yerushalayim.